You're listening to the Literary Lounge with Dawn Bates on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.
Hello, Cardiff and beyond, obviously, because we are worldwide. And I just wanted, this week, I have been really considering the all of this thing about writing a book, and well, obviously I consider it anyway because that's what I do. But when I'm looking at how to promote my books in new ways for new readers and reaching new audiences, one of the things I find is that lots of people, they're promoting fiction books and they're talking about how to write a fiction book. Very, very few people talk about how to write non-fiction. They don't speak about how to write about traumatic instances or holding space for people. So I'm in a bit of a winning situation here. But I did come across a song that actually had me chuckling away to myself, and it's it is really fun. But it's not normally the kind of music that I would listen to. Although I do like a bit of Linkin Park, and I like Oh the Larceny and Welshly Arms. So it's kind of in that kind of vein. But it's called If You Date a Reader. And I'm just going to start off with that before we go on to the main elements of the show, because I did think it was quite a bit of fun. And so this is Ruthless Romance, If You Date a Reader. Go, folks. So, men, if you date a reader, be prepared to have your bank balance, approached on a regular basis. Now, I do spend money on books. I do like a hardback book. But when it talks about these spray edges, now this has become really, really common with a lot of, especially people in the fiction world. I don't think I've ever seen a non-fiction book with sprayed edges. It is a talent, for especially those who do the individuals. Now, I'm a big, big fan of the Folio Society. I've been a member of the Folio Society. Well, I had a membership to the Folio Society when they did that many, many years ago, and they would send you these leaflets on, I'm talking, leaflets here, guys, not emails, about their new releases, and you could buy them, and I've got several Folio Society editions on my bookcase, several hardbacks. And I was talking with a friend of mine, Nigel, going back, gosh, we go back years, when we did business together in Sheffield. And we were talking about how someone had told him that hardback books were dying out. And I was like, what? In what world is that a thing? Because that certainly is not a thing in my world. Goodness gracious, hardbacks dying out? Never, ever. I mean, not in my lifetime. And I'm only 48, folks. So, not in my lifetime. And I know lots of younger readers that love a hardback. I can't ever imagine that happening. They did say that video would kill radio, but here we are. And they did say that the internet would, kill libraries, although that libraries are being shut for various other reasons, because the government doesn't know how to spend its money wisely and to keep communities as a community, that good old-fashioned divide and conquer. But I won't be going too political like I did last week. I haven't had a complaint from Ofcom yet, so I'm feeling quite positive now. But yeah, I just wanted to, because obviously I'm writing, re-editing my third book, Crossing the Line, and putting that into two books. And one of the themes that is coming up quite strongly is relationships. Now, we've all got them, whether they're work relationships, whether they are romantic relationships, relationships with friends, parents, our children. And as you've heard over the last few weeks, last few months now, I've been doing this since the beginning of the year, and it's now May. I have spoken a lot about the different kinds of relationships we have with ourselves, and all of the relationships we have with others stems from the one we have with ourselves. If we are not honoring ourselves and we're not teaching others how to respect us, then we're going to get disrespect. We're not going to be honoring our full potential. If we're not investing in ourselves, and we're not going to reach our full potential, the higher version of self, there's the one that is actually the one that gives us our dreams and aspirations. If we're not living into those dreams and aspirations and doing whatever it is we can to fulfill those, then we're not actually surrounding ourselves with the people that will allow us to do that. And when I'm looking back at the events of crossing the line, I I thought I'd got to a good place in life. I'd learned a lot of lessons. But then I realized that I came out of an 18-year marriage in the most awful way. The betrayal and the lies, and the infidelity and the manipulation. And I'm looking back at that version of Dawn, at the beginning of crossing the line, and it saddens me that I allowed somebody else to do those things, but I did not see the red flags. Now, red flags are not anything new. If you go back to the invention of the motor car, you used to have somebody walking in front of the motor car. Yeah, but believe me, do your history on this, do the reading on your history of this, or, Google it or what have you. You're still going to have to read something. Um, and to warn people that there was a motor car coming. Not that people couldn't hear the engine or the horn, but they used to have somebody walking in front of the motor car with a red flag. Yes, there used to be someone walking in front of the car with a red flag. Talk about bureaucracy at its finest. Not much has changed. And again, you've got the red flag to a bull. You've got the red flags in relationships. When you flagging something up for emails, it's a red flag that that the flag automatically comes up as red. But when you're looking in the relationships, how did I miss all of those signs? It's because sometimes we don't want to see them. We really don't. And then we look about asking people for permission for us to leave the relationships. Now, some of the songs that I've looked into, so that I can play them here on the radio. As you know, I like to go into the lyrics. I like to figure out what the lyrics are meaning, what the lyrics is telling us, how they're being portrayed, what are the meanings behind them. And most of the songs I'm going to play today, they are by women, and I thought that was quite appropriate, being as I'm talking about, how I rebuilt my life after, the divorce, and how I got arrested in Scotland, and, the way I took on Police Scotland and won, obviously. I'm not giving away too much about the story. But obviously I won. I wouldn't be sitting here talking to you now if I hadn't, because, given what they tried to charge me with, I would have been in prison for at least another 3 years. But I haven't been doing that, have I? No. Um, but again, it's like looking at this whole way in which we write things and how people interpret them or misinterpret them. And when I was figuring out what songs I wanted to do, I was like, what songs was I listening to during this time? What songs was it that I was singing at the top of my voice, belting out, in those moments of shaking off that negative energy? And oh boy, did I sing it out loud and shake it off. And I punched the punch bags. I did roundhouse after roundhouse and uppercut. And oh, I love my kickboxing sessions when I was getting over heartbreak. Highly recommend it. His face got battered many, many times. I broke several ribs in that metaphorical body pinned to that punch bag, I can tell you. I killed him many times over. Um, nothing quite like it. Oh, it's brilliant. Um, but I was listening to the lyrics of this next song that I'm going to play to you, and it's saying about give me permission to leave you. And talking about set me free, and we can only set ourselves free. And the way I listen to the lyrics now, as opposed to how I used to listen to them, again, is how do we read books now that we read when we were younger? And what meanings do we give to them? How do we understand words and the way in which we speak and the way in which we become aware of how words create our world? And I mean, there is the cliche saying that, it's called spelling for a reason. And do I believe in that, or is that just a bit of a take on it, or not really sure? But either way, this is Anastasia with her song, I'm Out of Love, because I really was out of love. And, it got killed instantly when I found out my ex-husband had been cheating. But I feel that, there are certain things that you can forgive, but for me, cheating was not one of them. Because if you're going to lie about something and you haven't got the courage to have conscious communication, then you're certainly not my kind of person, whether it's a romantic relationship or not. So this is Anastasia, I'm Out of Love, and this is the 4K edition for radio. Here we go. Now, when we listen to Anastasia's song, and we just flip back to the fun song, If You Date a Reader, are there impossible expectations that we put upon ourselves or upon others? Giving ourselves permission. Now, I always have this phrase, I'm going to give myself permission to gift myself permission to have permission. Now, some people are like, huh, what? Let me get my head around that. But again, it's like if I'm giving myself the permission to give myself permission to have permission, that's a very deep knowing. And that's one of the reasons why when I'm working with people, so we can either as writers wait around for an agent to accept us or a big four to accept us and say, yes, we're good enough. Or we could actually just say, you know what? I know my story is good enough. My writing may not be that great. And you might, obviously, if your writing isn't great and your grammar's not great, then you get an editor or send it to someone like myself who, can help you develop it ready for it to go to a line and copy editor. But this is one of the things that we're seeing in the publishing world. Lots of people are not prepared to wait around for the snooty publishers and the elusive agents who never get back to a lot of people. The manners within the world of book agents, it's a lot, leaves a lot to be desired. Um, and I get it, they get a lot of people wanting to be pitched to the big four, but there are so many incredible boutique publishers around that focus on lots of different genres. Whether you're writing science fiction or whether you're writing about the spiritual world or whether you're writing about Christianity or any other kind of religion, or if you're looking, you're wanting to look at, different cultures. If you're wanting to write textbooks or children's education or children's books, there are so many boutique publishers that have nothing to do with the big four that will actually help you make a lot more money. And if you are wanting to sell as many copies as possible for as long as possible, then take it into your own hands and actually start selling the book. Because if you're not going to wait for permission, yes, we all hear about J.K. Rowling's story, where she sent her manuscript off and she got all of these rejections, but she finally got accepted. But why wait that long? Why not make a start? Because if you eventually do really well with your book and you actually do believe in yourself and your book and you start to sell really, really well, then agents and publishers will come to you if that's what you want. Now, I want control of my own writing, of my own lifestyle. I know all the things that I've got going on and the things that I want to achieve. And I know that if I'd have worked with a bigger publisher, or if I'd have stayed with a bigger publisher that I was already with, not only would I have lost my voice because they wanted to water down what I'd written, but I would have also lost control of how I marketed and all the merchandise that I want to do and the bigger projects that I have in mind. Now, as some of you know, I've already got an author academy online where I sell all my courses. We're actually bringing that into real life. That's coming to the high street. Well, not quite the high street, but it will be within buildings. It'll be a real live academy, and there will be additional options for that. And this is the thing. I have such a big vision, and sometimes the people that are surrounding us, they're not capable of holding that vision. Our vision of ourselves and our future outgrow them. And we realize that some of the behaviors that these people have that are in our life, they're not the behaviors that we want going forward. And one of the songs that I've chosen, it's coming up next, it talks about this. It's like, you what we had was something good, but then you started all of these additional behaviors, and you started you and people do use you. I remember being in the throes of the Scotland saga, realizing this guy's just using me, but I needed his testimony. And so I was using him as well. And that has come across, and I don't, I'm not proud of that, but I had to do what I had to do for my children and for my own freedom. Um, but when you're looking at what you've been through with hindsight, you're like, wow, okay, interesting that this all happened. So this next song that I'm gonna play, it's by one of my favorites from back in the day. I don't hear much of her music now. This is Joss Stone, and she's talking about, being in this love, and how, his habits were not that great, and it's called You Had Me. And I remember playing this on repeat when I was in Australia after I'd left. And yeah, boy, did I sing this one over and over again.
You're listening to the Literary Lounge with Dawn Bates on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.
That was the news and ads. Well, the ads for you. Break of the show in the first hour. And going back to those songs, I mean, Joss Stone, like I said, when I was sat in Darwin, it was I was making my way because I was about to do a race, the Ambon race from Darwin over into Thailand, and then go around Asia. And I'm kind of glad I didn't go around Asia, because I really do want to do a lot of countries in Asia, and I am planning. I've come up with the idea that I'm going to plan a road trip to Mongolia, and go around Mongolia. And then a friend of mine was like, "Oh, have you seen the latest Race Across the World?" Yes, I have, and I love it. And I really want someone to do it with, and I know I'd be brilliant at it. But there we go. Yeah, so if anybody wants to do Race Across the World, do let me know. But yeah, gosh, it'd be amazing. But I've been doing, like I've said previously, I've sailed around the world, done chicken buses, Ubers, and I've surfed down waterfalls. And I sometimes I look at my life and I pinch myself, thinking, what the heck? But this is the thing, when I was writing Crossing the Line, I was still in the trauma that I was running from. And that is really coming up in the book. And I'm like, oh my God, how did this get published? How did my editor at the time allow this to go? Now, uh, in her defense, she says I was so taken by what was going on. And, the book did incredibly well. And I know it's going to do even better with this new edit. And, answering all these questions that I am for the author, for my readers, they're wanting to know, well, what happened here? And, how did you find that out? And, how did you feel about that? And there were certain things I wasn't ready to share at the time that I'm so ready to share about. And so I'm really glad that my readers have reached out to me and said, can you explain this a bit more detail? And, what happened then? And, how has it impacted your life since? And so looking at how this book has been framed, and, the law and all the evidence that's come out about Police Scotland since the court case, I'm like, oh my God, that was actually going on at the same time. Was this what happened? And then obviously I've got to do more research, and this is the thing, the life of an author is never over, because you've got to live and breathe all of the books that you write. Now, whether it's just one big bang book, where you blow everybody away, or if you're a slow burn like I am, I'm building a catalogue, a canon of books. I'm building a body of work, and all of these other phrases that go towards, what it is that us authors create. And once I've got through Crossing the Line, now I'm re-releasing this on July the 25th. And so I've got my work cut out, because, we're already on the 19th of May. We're already, making sure that everything is coming. I've got to do the artwork for the second book, Mothers Like You, which was a comment made by a police officer on the second court case that happened. And, you sometimes I'm reading, I'm like, oh my gosh, the attitudes that the police had towards me just because I had children of a different ethnicity. And this was going on in Scotland in 2025. And the fascinating thing about it was all of these cases and all of these in inquiries and investigations and stories and allegations that have come out about Police Scotland. I'm surprised I even got the results I did, seeing what's been happening. And I just, like I was saying yesterday, I just can't believe that people are still so racist and prejudiced against people of different ethnicities and different cultures. I mean, we're seeing it across the UK at the moment, and I've been looking at the local election results, and I'm not surprised that certain parties have got in certain areas, whether that be, the Liberals or the Greens or the Reform or, the Conservative market, and it's it's not surprising, is it? Because again, they are the policies and the awareness. They are an extension of who we are and what we hold dear. And again, looking at the relationships that I was in, um, I've only had two relationships in my life, romantic ones and real ones anyway. I met my ex-husband when I was 18. We built a life together. We built businesses together. We traveled the world together. Um, and we spent 18 years together in our formative adult life. And there were certain things that he chose with my knowledge. I'm not talking about the cheating that went on behind the scenes, but we were growing apart. But I always knew that, and this is the thing, when you're reading about relationships and how to have interdependent relationships from each other, and so you both have your separate lives as well as your lives together. And I don't mean the separate lives as in what my ex-husband had, all the secrecy and the manipulation and the lies and everything, but you people that just spend all their time together and then forget about everybody else around them. I find that claustrophobic, or people that meet and one partner moves in all of a sudden and then, the other partner's all overwhelmed but doesn't know how to speak. And conscious communication is so important. So important. Communication, it gives us access to this power within us. And when you're not having those conversations that you need to have, it's a sign of cowardice. It's a sign that one of you is controlled more than the other. It's a sign that you don't have the power within your relationship. That's your sovereignty. This is your natural born sovereignty. This is the power that you were born with. I mean, goodness gracious, look at how much we demand when we're babies. We demand to be fed, we demand to be changed, we demand to be loved, we demand everything. When we're in our terrible twos, as it's known, we stamp our feet and we want what we want. We have that power. And if we're lucky, and I know that this is luck and privilege, we have those family units that guide us and nurture us to be able to use our voice, but use our voices in a positively powerful way. And when I am doing this show and I'm thinking about what it is that I'm going to talk about with you and what I'm going to be highlighting now, I do write a lot. I mean, if you're following my website on the Dose of Dawn, you will have known that I'm covering a lot of issues around rape at the moment and sexual violence. And my latest article is all about how, the victim doesn't actually set the stage for it. The rapist might do, but, that shows a very sadistic and evil level. But some of the things that I'm writing about on my Dose of Dawn channel, which I also shared on my LinkedIn articles, people find very uncomfortable to talk about. And the reason why we find them uncomfortable to talk about is because the shame is on the wrong people. And we are uncomfortable with the knowledge that such violence has happened to somebody that we know or we love or we care about. And then we've got those that don't know how to handle it, so they don't handle it. and they actually turn their back on the person who was once their friend, or they find it easier to believe that it didn't happen. And so, someone that we have trusted in our friendships, in our lives, they're now all of a sudden a liar because we cannot fathom that level of abuse or that level of violence happening to someone we care about. Now, when I got out of the relationship and, going back to, who we choose, and it's all about choosing ourselves first. And that's one thing that I've done a lot of reading on healing the inner wounds, the inner child. I've done a lot of reading by Dr. Gabor Mate and Bessel van der Kolk. The body keeps score, the body says no. I've looked at how trauma impacts the body, and it's all about learning how you regulate yourself and how you love yourself and how you can really do that. And this next song that I'm going to play, I remember the first time I heard it, oh, I had to have it on repeat. And she's not an artist that I would normally listen to. And but I remember I learned these words, and every time that I hear this song now, oh, I sing this with gusto. And what was really interesting is when I was singing it one day when I was driving the car. I think I've already played this song for you before. I'm trying to choose songs I've not played for you before, and I know we're 5 months in, so you might not have been tuning in or listening or remembering the songs I played for you previously. But I am building a Radio Cardiff Literary Lounge playlist. Um, but this next song, it's so interesting the amount of women that I know of a similar age that also sing this. And when they hear me, when I was driving along in the car and I'd got it on, I remember like women giving me, cheering as I've got it, and they'll sing with it. And it's created a lot of camaraderie with women who have been through something similar. And yeah, we have a lot of fun with this song. Complete strangers, but they say, women know, and even when women don't know, they still know. So this is Miley Cyrus with Flowers, because you can absolutely buy yourself flowers. And there we go. That's that brilliant song. And we can love ourselves better. We all say things that nobody else understands. We all do that. Goodness gracious, I always start a sentence, or a question, and I end up answering it to myself because I know that I've got the answer. I just need to figure it out for myself. And this is one of the things that traveling alone and just spending a lot of time by yourself, figuring out who you are, why it's so important, because so many people don't know who they are. They're so reliant on other people validating them. That's why social media is so great, isn't it, for a lot of people? Because unless it's on social media, does their life even mean anything? Do they even exist? And I remember someone saying that to me on a train when I was crossing Canada, researching the human trafficking routes. And he goes, well, if it's not on social media, are you even important enough? And I thought, oh my God, how sad. How sad that people live their lives through social media. And I've been looking at how people promote their books on social media. And I do find it fascinating because a lot of the books, as I said in the first half of the show, a lot of the books that are promoted on social media, people are talking about them. They are predominantly fiction. There's very little non-fiction spoken about, but I found the Bibliophiles great. They've got a podcast. They talk about fiction and non-fiction, which is great. And I love their views and I love their take on some of the books. And um, but it's very interesting how the it's the kind of books that they're reading which really excites me. They've talked about the feminist movement. They're talking about the patriarchy, but they're not talking about it as the patriarchy is all bad. They're looking at it from an anthropological point of view. They're also talking about, how there are certain characters in books that really resonate. And they've just reviewed The Secret History by Donna Tartt, and it's a book that's been on my list ever since I read The Goldfinch 3 years ago, crossing Canada on the train. And I only started it a few days ago, and I'm like, oh my God. And I've taken it to Geneva with me, and oh, love it. Love Donna Tartt. If you haven't read any of her books, then please do. And I will be going into my review of her book next week. Oh, and talking more about the event in Geneva, because I'm not going to lie to you, you and I both know, but you're listening to this, you can tell it's not in the studio. And I am pre-recording this before I go. I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to pretend. I have started reading it, and oh, I love the smell of a new book, but I love the touch of the page. Um, and it's like, gosh, it's such a soft book. And thank you, Penguin, for that. I mean, come on, who doesn't love a penguin? Whether it's the chocolate kind or the smelly kinds, the real ones that I saw a lot when I was out traveling in Las Malvinas, or whether it's a penguin book. I mean, who doesn't love a penguin? But anyway, going back, getting to know who you are, and one of the best ways I feel that we can do this is by writing out our story. I do believe that, finding books that resonate with you. When people say to me they don't read, I'm like, why? Why are you not having a meeting with yourself and just discovering? My dad used to say to me he didn't like reading until I found a series of books about a load of friends that went fishing. My dad devoured 5 books just like that. I sounded like Tommy Cooper then. No, I didn't sound like him, but yeah. Um, and if you find the right book, you will absolutely be a great reader. You will enjoy it. You've just got to find your book. But the problem is, there's so much crap out there that I call Amazon the little bin of literature. Amazon, and this is the thing about self-publishing. There, it's great that everybody can self-publish, but it's also really bad that lots of people can self-publish because they don't do a good job. A lot of people, they don't know about all of the bits and pieces that they need. They don't know about the bit codes and the thema data. They might do a description, but they don't know how to maximize it. They might know about the categories, but they don't know about how to make the categories the best. And that's why you work with people like myself and my publishing team. It's why I'm doing the Author Essentials event on the 27th, 5 till 7 p.m. If you haven't seen it, go onto my LinkedIn or on my YouTube channel, on my Facebook, the DBI Author Academy. Go onto the website, you should see it there. There are all of these, dawnbates.com dash, no, slash the dash author dash essentials, and you can register there. It's a free event. But again, it's like I knew that I wanted to get paid to read and write for a living, but I didn't do that when I was married. It only came about after I was married. I didn't go sailing around the world until after I got divorced. My divorce was great for me because I was able to become the Dawn that I wanted to be, and I didn't realize I'd suffocated her by being married because I'd given up too much of myself. And that's something else that I'm seeing with writing in Crossing the Line. And this next song that I'm going to be playing in a couple of minutes, it's again another song I sang over and over again. I had it on repeat. I remember walking um, through the woods near Aston in Sheffield. I was staying with a friend of mine, very dear friend of mine, Jules, and I was going through heartbreak, and this song came out, and I played it over and over and over again. And I also remember getting off the train in Winnipeg and to um, walking to the train station. No, walking from the train station to the airport with this song on repeat because there was no way that I was going to keep living a lie. And there was a chap that was playing me and ghosting me, and I was like, why is this happening again? There's still work to be done. There is still work to be done. There's always work. We're always evolving. And I think that when you're always reading and discovering and learning, whether it is through fiction or non-fiction, and you're reading about different views of the world, and you're reading whatever book it is that you're reading it through different lenses. I find myself already in the 44 pages that I've read of The Secret History, I'm flipping between the lens of a student and a teacher, an observer, and someone who loves the Greeks. modern, right, the classics, and so Donna Tartt, oh, she's just amazing. But again, learning about who I am and why I've attracted certain people in my life and what else is there that I need to let go of or I need to learn about myself so that I can become that best version of self. So that I stop attracting people that are not going to help serve me at my highest level. And I don't mean serve as in a butler's way, but some people that are actually going to champion me in rooms I'm not in, people that are going to celebrate me as I do them, people that are going to help me get to where it is that they know I want to be, and people that actually take an interest in who I want to be and who I'm striving to be. So this next song is a song that I played on repeat, as I said, and this is Dead Mouse, You and I. This is the radio edition because the other one's about 6 minutes long, but I'm not going to do that. This is only about three, so here we go, You and I.
You're listening to the Literary Lounge with Dawn Bates on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.
That was your news and weather and the ads on the hour. So yes, You and I. I remember walking to the beat of that song, like through woodlands, through cities, like, oh, did I play that? Um, and cried, and I mean, like, I was crying, and that was the thing. It's like this is the power of music, and sometimes when you hear the lyrics, they resonate, and we all know that depending on what mood you're in or how you're feeling, you're like, yeah, I'm not feeling that, yeah, really, and like there'll be some songs I'm like, yeah, I'm not feeling that today. Really don't want to be listening to that. Sometimes I'm in a disco mood, sometimes I'm in a jazz mood or a swing mood or a hybrid minds jungle drum and bass mood, and sometimes I'm like, just give me real hard, fast techno. Um, Not that I can keep up with it as well as I used to, I will be honest. Um, and you've heard my kind of, well, you've heard the radio editions of the dance music that I like. Goodness gracious, I won't be able to play. I'm not able to play half the music I like, by the way. So I'm having a real discovery journey of music that I like that I want to play on here on the Literary Lounge. And yeah, interesting times. It's uh it's amazes me what constitutes for music and good taste these days when it comes to music and songs and what's allowed. I was in the gym the other day at Reading because I'm making my way to London to go to Switzerland for this event on women's equity empowerment at the United Nations Palace of Nations. And there was a song that was being played, and the majority of the women in the class, it was a body pump class, and we're all roughly the same age. We're in our 40s, and yet the music was something that I said to it was his first class. He goes, "Oh, I'd like any feedback." I went, "You really want feedback? Don't play that kind of music. We're all past that. Look, read the room. Look at the ages of the women in the room. Look at the time of day that we're here. This is first thing on a Sunday morning. We're here, we're having a bit of me time. Some of these women will be away from their kids or their husbands. This is just for them. And you're playing club music that is this tacky, shallow relationships. You're having that uh, a one night stand with someone you don't even know, someone you won't even speak to ever again, and that's not who we are. That's not who we are. We're beyond that, dude. We're the people that are in bed with a book at 10 o'clock, going to bed. We're probably in bed at 9 o'clock with a good book and a cup of tea, ready to go to bed and sleep at 10 o'clock. We're past all that, and that kind of relationship is not what we're looking for now. Maybe it's something apart. Maybe I'm just judging women my own age. But when you're nearly 50, you're kind of like, yeah, really? Have a bit of depth. Let's have some depth in life. Because, like I say, why be a puddle when you can be an ocean? Why would you want to be shallow? Why would you want shallow relationships in your life? Why would you want to live a shallow life? We are capable of so much in our life. We are capable of great thoughts and great adventures, and we deserve great literature, and we deserve great love. We deserve great self-love. And I just I just want everyone to be living their best life, however that looks for them. But how many people know what their best life looks like? And I come back to this because it's something that look at some of the books that people are reading, and I'm thinking, really? Seriously? I don't know why these people are reading. I know I'm very judgy. I know that about myself, and I accept that. If you serve me instant coffee, not going to be happy with you. No. If you say you're going to make me fish for dinner, do not be giving me breaded fish that you put in the air fryer. Do not cook with an air fryer on my watch. Do not. I would rather go hungry than have something that's made for me out of an air fryer. That's just how it is. I'm very much a let's get the vegetables from the market, let's make a dish that's fresh, and let's enjoy good quality food. And I would rather do intermittent fasting, eat less food, and have better quality food than have regular meals that's processed. That's just who I am. But again, I've learnt all of the things that I've done through understanding and reading about food, reading about farming, learning about the world we live in. And the next song that I'm going to be playing for you in the next few minutes, I remember hearing it as I was traveling around the world, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is me. This is my song." And totally took me by surprise because again, it's not really the type of music that I would listen to, and and this is the thing about traveling the world by myself. I learnt about me. What do I like? I don't have to just be the person who listens to this kind of music. I actually like that song. I might not like the other the songs from I might not like the artist's other songs. I may not like the rest of the songs in that genre, but just the same as books. I may not like the other book. I mean, I may not like this book by Donna Tartt. Just because I love The Goldfinch doesn't mean to say I'm going to love The Secret History, although 44 pages in I already am. Love the vocabulary, love the style of writing. I'm going to stop gushing about it. But again, just because you didn't like one Dickens book at school does not mean to say you're not going to like the rest of the Dickens stories. Just because you didn't like one classic doesn't mean saying you're not going to enjoy others. Just because there's trashy romance doesn't mean to say you're not going to enjoy, another romance book. What style, you know, get together with people, explore who you are. You are not rooted. You are free. And this is what this next song is by Alice Merton, and it's called No Roots. And I love it, and it really did represent a lot of my life, and it really does still represent a lot of my life. So I'm just gonna be quiet for a moment and just play you this. Ah, such a great song, such a great song. Just the freedom of traveling, the freedom of discovering who you are, the freedom of discovering that what we are told about the world is not true, discovering foods and flavors and fabrics and lifestyles and how other people live, and just the beauty of the world, the beauty of you. And so many people don't know the beauty of themselves. They don't know who they are. Now, I'm not saying everyone should just pack up everything, walk away, and just forget about their life and go off traveling, although some people really should do that. Um, and some people, again, will say, but it's all right for you, Dawn. But the thing is, it's like when you say things like that, you are dismissing what's okay for you. When people say to me, oh, you must have had loads of money to go off traveling around the world. No, I had a budget. I had the same budget that I had on land. I was like, okay, this is how much my rent is, this is how much my utilities are, this is how much I spend on food, etc., etc. That's my budget. And I'm telling you, you choose wisely the countries you go to. You could live very well on the budget that you live here in Britain. But so many people are afraid of the world. They're afraid of what they might discover about themselves, which is one of the reasons why reading is a great way of bridging that gap of who you are now and who you wish to be. We can look at other people's social media and go, I wish I was like them, or they've got a great life, or I like that clothing, and look at the clothing through the lens of the social media. We can look at, people who are buying this and that, or, saying this or promoting that, or we can be a voyeur to other people's lives. Why would we do that? Why voyeur somebody else's life when you could be living your own life? Now, I've always said that, well, since social media, people are scrolling through their life like they're scrolling through social media. And I think people call it doom scrolling. You're doom scrolling your life by sitting and watching TV all the time, or just scrolling through other people's social media, or playing games on like these Xbox. I mean, Xboxes. I might be out of date there. See, is it an Xbox that's the thing? Is it a PlayStation? I know Wii is a bit old, although I do love Let's Dance on the Wii. Up for a game of Let's Dance on the Wii any time of the day. Um, and I know the Mega Drive, that was one of my favorites, but I'm that person that if I've got those joysticks in hand, I look like I'm steering. And I know I'm not the only one, so don't laugh at me. And I know that when we used to go out raving and you'd see these arcade games and we'd have Tekken and I'd be there and I'd be like hitting all the buttons and I'd be beating everybody. I have no idea what I was doing, but I was beating people because I would just let go. Um, and but that song, No Roots, is about letting go of all the things that hold you back, whether that is property, whether that is a home or mortgage or a job, but just allowing yourself to let go of the things that anchor you. Now, I know that as a sailor, I mean, I just want to get on a boat and go. The boats are built to sail. They're not just there to look good on your resume, or for you to brag about having a boat to friends. Boats are meant to sail the oceans. That is how they are built. So if you have a boat and you're not sailing it and you're not crossing oceans in it, ask yourself why. What are you afraid of? What is it that's holding you back from getting on that boat, putting provisions in, and just going? Now, some men might say it's the wife. Well, the wife doesn't have to go with you. Really doesn't. The amount of men that I have met as I'm sailing around the world that will not, they won't go out more than, they won't go out more than a fishing trip, or they won't, you know, go away for more than a weekend because the wife won't let them. Oh my God, the wife won't let you. That's crazy. Um, and that for me just speaks of insecurities within the marriage. Why doesn't she trust you? Why does she not trust herself? Why is she not planning her own adventure? Why is it that you are not allowed to go and have an ocean adventure? Is it because she's afraid that you might die at sea? Well, then do some training. Make sure you've got the nav sorted. The nav sorted is the navigation, and get the charts right, and make sure that the boat is sound, the crew is sound. Honestly, when you haul anchor and you know that you're going to cross an ocean, there's nothing like it. And there was a bit, I love Vikings, the TV series Vikings, and there was a part in Vikings where I can't remember who they were. I recorded the clip on my phone, and I look at it sometimes quite regularly, probably a bit too much. There's nothing greater than arriving on the land in a new world. Words to that effect. I've forgotten them now. I'm gonna pause a moment. And it's so right. It's like you've been at sea for weeks and you've sailed through the day, through the night, and you land in a new country and you don't know what to expect. I mean, you've got your travel guides, but they're written by people who are not you, that have not had your experiences, haven't got your sense of adventure, they haven't got anything that you've got that you're going to bring to it. And if the person that you're with is not allowing you to, is not allowing you, I mean, it's not about allow, it's about, you know what, I want to go do this. And it should be, well, go do it then. Really should. Um, Let me help you become the best version of self and enjoy life to the fullest. Surely that's what a relationship is about. But maybe that's why I'm still single. But again, it's like when you want to go off on these adventures or you want to create a new life for yourself, away from drama, away from people who hold you back, that is so liberating. And I remember just arriving, and I didn't even, when I arrived in Vanuatu, I didn't even know there was a place called Vanuatu. It's this tiny collection of islands, about week and a half sail north of Australia, sorry, north of New Zealand, not quite out towards Indonesia and Papua New Guinea, and then another 10 days sail west towards Australia. So if you can imagine that, I've not yet got to Fiji and Tonga, but that will happen. But again, it's when you arrive and you're met with these new smells and the colors and languages, and oh, it's so exciting. I tell you what is not exciting though. When we were a day and a half away from Australia, when you've been at sea for a long period of time and you've been around archipelagos, where there's no industrialization, and then you're a day and a half from land, we stink. Humans stink. Our countries smell really bad, really bad. Like, oh, I was like, what on earth is that? I thought someone had opened the bilge pump. No, they hadn't. It was the smell of land, the industrialization of land. And I thought, oh my gosh, how awful. The pollution, the foods, the factories, manufacturing and all that. Yeah, it just really was not a pleasant smell. It was like, come on, let's haul anchor, let's go again. Let's just turn the boat around, and go. But that's me. And like I said, I'm planning a trip for myself out to Asia. I'm going to drive all the way, and I'm excited about it. And I will, just wander. No destination, no time frame, none of that. And I'll still be recording the show. Obviously, I won't be in the studio. I'll have my own mic set up, a better mic than I've got now. But again, it's like, what is it that you want? Are you finding your person? Are you finding the person who is allowing you to live life and encouraging you to live the life that you want? Are you finding that person who's going to go with you? Because when you go out and you find all of these new experiences and this new music and this new literature and these new foods and these new recipes and flavors and sights and the way in which people live life in different countries, and it helps unlock levels of you that have never been unlocked before. And it's such a beautiful experience for you to discover yourself in that way. And this is one of the reasons why I love books and I love reading stories from authors from different countries. They paint pictures in your mind of what is possible, and they paint pictures in your mind of, the history that they have been through. And then we look at how that relates to us. And it could be recent history, it could be ancient history, but also look, it helps you look at how your own history is preventing you or preparing you for a life that you haven't yet lived. Now, this next song I'm going to play, it's a bit of a country song, so it's got a bit of a different vibe. I'm trying to match the songs because, of the different genres that we're playing in. And this next one is by Dasha, and it's about Austin, about where she's turned up. They've planned this life, they're going away, and where is he? Where is he? He's nowhere to be found after all of these promises, after all of these, yes, let's go and do it. And she's turned him, she's like, yeah, no, I'm done. I'm so done. I'm so done with the lip service. And how many of us are done with lip service? So here is Dasha and her track Austin.
You're listening to the Literary Lounge with Dawn Bates on Radio Cardiff 98.7 FM.
Oh, I do love that song. But then we all know that I love a lot of songs, don't we? I love music. I love writing. You know, whether it's musical writing, lyrics, books, articles, just who I am. And that was also your ads on the half an hour. Now we are in the last half an hour of the show, so I've got two more songs for you and a little bit more chit chat, or as my friend Derek says, a little bit more chopsy action. Chopsy. Well, you know, when you spend most of your time with your head in books and it's all quiet, and the only other person or soul that you have to talk to is your dog, and then you get the opportunity to chat on the radio. Now I am lining up some more I am lining up guests, so this is not just going to be the Dawn Show, although this is the Dawn Show. It's a literary lounge with Dawn Bates. And I am trying, but it's getting people to come into the studio for 9 o'clock in the morning. I put a request out on the LinkedIn group about South Wales business contacts. Thousands of people across South Wales inviting people to the show. Do you think you could find not one person applied to come on? And is it because I wanted to know if there were readers? I need to know what books you're reading and what your relationship with the literature is for you to come on the show. You know, you've got to, that's what the show is about, literature, reading, writing, you know. But yeah, no, not a one, not a one. But never mind. So I'm learning how to record people from outside of Cardiff and outside of Wales because, you know, it doesn't seem that many people in Wales are reading, and that sounds really quite daft to me given the literary history that Wales has. People in Wales must read. I mean, have you not seen all the bookshops and all of that? You know, we've just had Griffin Books in Penarth win independent bookstore for the Nibbies, the British Book Awards. They won. Amazing. Congratulations to everybody at Griffin Books. I think it's Mel Griffin who founded it. So I'd love to get her on the show. And so yeah, again, we're looking at the last half an hour of the show. Now, the next two tracks that I'm going to play, they are tracks more than songs, and I like them. One of them, I was like, oh, I was a bit surprised I like that. And again, I was looking at the video of these people that have recorded it, and you can tell that it's low budget, and you can also tell that some of the people in the video are a little bit nervous. So I'm not really quite sure what to do. It might be their first track as a band. Um, but you know, this is the thing about musicians, people that write the songs, and people, those of us who write books, we tend to be in the background. Yes, I've got my own radio show, but you can't see me. You know, we like our privacy. We like the anonymity. Some of us are, you know, we want to be out there all singing, all the lights on us. Yeah, not so much. Um, you know, something I did in my past, you know, standing on a stage in front of 20,000 people. Absolutely loved it. You know, rock up on stage, have a great time with the audience. I'd ask them for their money because I was a great MC. Um, I love doing public speaking, but it's now there is this level of invasion of people's spaces that I've been speaking to several public speakers, and people want to show up and they want to know. Um, you know, social media has changed the world of public speaking. Yes, it's made it a lot more available to people, but it's also made their private lives more it invades their private life. People want to know, you know, why don't you post more about your private life and what you're buying and on social, because it's a private life. I might write these books about things that I've been through. I might share things with you here on Radio Cardiff about what's come up for me, or there's some of the things I've been through, like what I'm writing about in the book. But there is a reason for that. I'm not sharing these things to brag about myself. I'm sharing these things so that I can hopefully inspire you to make the changes in your life that you want to make. And I'm not sharing you my dinner unless I've been back to Gem 42 and seen the delights. But that's not really about me sharing my dinner and what I'm eating. It's about celebrating the artistry and the genius level of food that the chefs at Gem 42 in Newport put in front of you. And the crockery is art in itself. So it's art on art. The chefs at Gem 42 in Newport, if you're listening, I absolutely love you. If you haven't been, um, I highly recommend you go. Now, I went for my birthday, and I went with a friend, and it's a special treat. Some people will go regularly depending on their level of income, but some people, this is a once in a lifetime event for them, or they might want to save up on a regular basis to go to a 7-course taster menu, 10-course taster menu with pairing wines. But when you eat food of that level and of that brilliance, and oh, one place I really, really want to go to is I want to go to the Alchemist in Copenhagen. It's an immersive theatre show of food and social justice of food and animal welfare. And I was talking with Nasa and Khalid about this, and Nasa's like, Mum, you won't eat any food. I'm like, why not? They won't, because you're just going to be so traumatized by what's there. I mean, yeah, but I'm a farmer girl. I know that, the food I'm eating, how it gets to my plate. I know that because I'm prepared to go out there, hunt it, kill it, catch it, butcher it, prep it, and cook it ready to eat. I know that when I'm out walking in the Berkshire countryside and I'm seeing a hare and then I'm seeing pheasants and then I'm seeing a deer, I'm like, why is my shotgun in a locker at my parents' house? Why do I not have it here now? I've got dinner for months here. And that might shock some people. That might offend some people. People are always offended. I even have a mug, a DBI mug, with "Prepared to be offended" on it. If you want a copy of it, just know it's coming out in the DBI retail store very, very soon. We've been updating some of the designs after the first lot we had. So we're very excited about the new mugs. We've got "Prepared to be offended." I come with a trigger warning, awake not woke, word nerd. What else we got? Oh, we've got ones with the owning our ovaries sword and feathers on. We've got one with the menopause fireball. Um, we've got one with shh, I'm reading. Yeah, so we've got quite a few that are coming out very soon, all branded, and yeah, we're very excited about that. But again, know where your food comes from and have these aspirations of going to these places. And because I know where my food has come from and I know the journey of the food, I know whether it's been pumped full of hormones, whether it's been uh, dyed, because I mean, I wouldn't buy meat from a supermarket because the meat from the supermarket has been in that plastic for how long? And then transported for how long, then in the chillers for how long, then in the warehousing for how long. The meat that you see in the supermarket should not look that colour. It should be off. It has been rammed with hormones, rammed with preservatives, sealed in plastic. I would just rather go to a local farmer's market and just buy it there, or I'd rather run around a field after a chicken, knowing which chicken I'm going to have and that it's been well cared for. It might have been frightened by me chasing around after it. But this is the thing, this is the natural order of life. And what we put inside our bodies, what we listen to, what we read, it's really important. Who we surround ourselves with is really important. If you haven't read anything about, vibrational frequency and epigenetics and, self-belief and environment being everything, then, and you're not really interested in the science of that, then a lot of my books will actually help you gain access to all of this knowledge. some of the courses that I've written. I've done a money mindset shift because I really had to work on my money story because of the background that I came from. And, how do I make money? How do I keep it? How do I invest it? It's not very technical, but it is about learning how to uncover those limiting beliefs and those blockages. And you can get, if you want to get a copy of the money mindset shifts, then just send me an email via my website, dawnbates.com/contact. Now, this next song, as I said, it's not a song that I heard it and I was like, oh, that's quite a cheery one. And obviously, after everything I've shared with you about the relationships that have come up for me in crossing the line as I've been writing it and what's shown me about the person who I am, I saw this. I was like, oh, that's quite a nice title. It's called Lady Love and it's by Odin Fatso and Camden. And yeah, I just love the video because it just shows people that are just making it happen for themselves. They haven't got huge budgets, they're making it happen on with what they've got. And that's where we have to start. We have to start with what we know and what we've got. So this is Odin, Fatso, and Camden, and it's called Lady Love. And I hope you enjoy it because I did. It was a surprising song for me, or a surprising track, but we are going into the weekend. So here we go. So it's quite a joyful, uplifting song. Like I said, joyful, uplifting song there for you. Um, it's not something that I would know. It's a bit, but again, I'm changing. My tastes are changing. Again, a lot of that I think is due to the fact that I have to look for radio edits. I have to look for music that's appropriate for 9 o'clock on a Friday morning on community radio. We've only got about 9 minutes left of the show, and then you'll be going into Wyburn and Wayne, and I'm sure that they've got another great show there ready for you. And I just really am so grateful to everybody who shows up and listens and messages me and tells me that they're enjoying the show and the reality and how I'm keeping it real. I'm not pretending to be something I'm not. I go off on tangents and then bring it all back round to the beginning. And uh, the feedback that I'm getting about how I can go off on so many tangents and then bring it back round. How do I do it? Well, this is just, I'm a storyteller. This is what I do. This is how the books, and manifest, and I just start writing and I just start talking. I have a framework for these radio shows. I know roughly what I want to talk about, but they're not scripted. And I remember when we were looking at doing some ads for my business, and my team sent me scripts to read. I'm like, what are you sending me those for? I don't read scripts. Do you think I'm an actress? No, I'm not an actress. I don't remember scripts. I kind of read them, get a take for them. That's probably why the ads don't do that great, to be honest. They do well. I mean, they just wouldn't be natural. They wouldn't be me. And this is one thing that I want lots of people to love about. I want people to love who they are. I want people to show up as they are. Stop pretending. If you are in a job where you have to pretend to be someone else that is not aligned with who you are, or you feel that you are not able to be your full self, are you working with the right person? Is it just a stepping stone to where you're going? Because that's also really important, obviously. And I just, I see so many people living limited versions of themselves, either in relationships or in the jobs that they're in. And yet they may love the job, but is that organization that you're working for, is that the right organization? Because you could do that job in another organization where you could just be totally yourself. I am totally unemployable. I know that, not just because of my CPSD and my trauma. That I don't do well. I mean, I could never work in retail. I will tell you that now. I would my Apparently I have subtitles on my face. So it's probably a good job that people don't when people read my books, they're like, oh my God, like, and people that know me, they're like, I can see you waving your hands around, I can see the looks on your face. Dawn, you have subtitles on your face. So even if you're not saying anything, the subtitles on your face say everything. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Apparently, I have a thinking face. I have a, are you really kidding me face. Um, I mean, I know I look at some people in some like, and I can hear the narrative in my head. And like I said, I know I'm quite judgy. I look at the sometimes when I've been out to the store and I'm like, yep, yeah, no. And I'm having this conversation in my head, and I'll look at someone, and sometimes it's allowed people to engage with me, and we've had a good conversation anyway. And I remember I was looking at one man shopping in his trolley, and he goes, "You don't approve, do you?" I went, "What? Sorry?" Because you don't approve of the food. I went, "No, not really. It's really bad. You really shouldn't be eating that." And he started giggling, and I said, "Yeah." He goes, and I was like, "And I can tell you're single." He goes, "Is that why you're looking? Because your shopping says that you're single." Like, yeah, but we're definitely not a match. Our food, our shopping choices, they're definitely not a match. We're not a match. We're not even on the same level, mate. But we were having a laugh and we were having a giggle about it. And sometimes subtitles on your face help. Sometimes they don't. Sometimes I can't help it. I've got so used to traveling the world by yourself. You get used to being on the outside of communities, on the outside of society, and just watching and observing. Because one, you have to learn how to integrate, not assimilate, integrate into communities. You have to learn how to, learn the etiquettes. And when you learn those etiquettes, obviously minus the subtitles on your face, when you learn the etiquettes of what's going on around you, and then you know how to behave, because every culture is different, and even if it's a subculture within your own nation, like you have to learn these things, and that comes from observing. Derek, you hear me mention I'm going to get Derek on the show. I think that's an absolute must. So, Derek, if you're listening, brace yourself. You are coming on the show. He doesn't know. Yeah, I've already told him he is, but he is going to come on the show because you hear about him so much. He has this brilliant thing: is never look at another country through your own eyes. Look at it through their eyes. And this has changed the way I look at, buying and purchasing clothing, etc. Because what we might see as really, really bad working conditions um, for people in other countries, if they didn't work, would they work at all? If they didn't work in those conditions, would they work at all? Would they have access to food and money to provide for their families? And that's the thing that, you know, we have to consider. Now, there are some things that we see in the world, and there's some things I mean, I'm that person that if I'm watching a movie or something and a horse gets killed or injured, or a dog gets killed or injured, or they blow up a tall ship, I really am not a happy bunny. I cry when they hurt horses and dogs. I'm not so bothered about humans. But tall ships, when you destroy a tall ship, just I get really quite upset about that. Um, I love Pirates of the Caribbean, but I don't like watching the ships get destroyed. Um, I am a boat girl. I am a sailor girl. I love boats. But again, it's like you're watching certain things and your heart breaks. And this next song that I'm going to wrap up with, it's a tune more than a song, but and I was looking and it talks about all the things that break you, but also the things that are endearing. The fact that I get upset that horses and dogs, get injured upsets me. The fact that I don't like it when, I can be watching a movie and it'll be a feel-good movie, especially a doggy movie, and I will start crying. If there are happy moments or, like the sun. Oh, and I think because I'm a mother of sons, if I see men being hurt, I just think that's somebody's son. That could be my son, and then I get upset about it. So yeah. Anyway, this next song is is a way for us to go into the weekend, and then you've got the news and weather on the hour. But this next one is called "Breaking Me." It's by Topic A7S, so that's Alpha 7 Sierra. It's obviously that's not how it's written. It's not written Topic Alpha 7 Sierra, but it is A7S. I do know the phonetic alphabet. I'm a sailor, I need to. But I also used to work for an insurance company, so I had to learn it then. But it's also very good to know phonetic alphabet for when you're talking to lots of different people, like organizations and stuff. But I hope you've enjoyed the show. I hope you're going to start reading something and message me. Let me know what you're reading. And if you'd like to come on the show and you're an avid reader, do let me know that as well. And then we can see about getting you on the show. But have a fantastic weekend. Know that you're worthy of everything you desire. And this is topic A7S taking us into the weekend. Until next week, folks. Ciao for now.
You've been listening to the Literary Lounge with Dawn Bates on Radio Cardiff at 98.7 FM and DAB Radio. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll be with you again next week.